Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at this really fascinating spiritual discourse on meditation and inner transformation,
Yeah.
all that good stuff.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting about this speaker is the way they use these really vivid metaphors to get these complex ideas across.
Right.
Like comparing the mind to a parasitic vine.
Oh yeah, I was going to mention that one.
And the whole journey of self-discovery to like returning to the womb. It's like, wow, where is this going?
Yeah, those are definitely going to stick with you.
Yeah.
But before we get too deep into the really out there stuff, they start with this pretty basic analogy of meditation being like a seed
Right.
for spiritual growth.
Yeah, they really emphasize that this tiny seed has got all this potential, for something incredible, like enlightenment even.
Oh, wow.
But it needs the right conditions to grow, like any seed would,
Yeah,
you know?
of course.
So we can't just expect to just poof, become spiritually awakened
Right.
without putting in the work.
No instant enlightenment.
No, it takes cultivation.
Yeah. Well, so it sounds like step one is we got to establish a good meditation practice.
Exactly. It all starts there.
Okay, so the source material gets into some of the challenges of that, and there's this whole part about the mind being like a parasitic vine.
Yes.
Specifically, this one called kuskuta, or a marvel.
A marvels?
Like, what did you make of that when you read that?
Well, I thought it was actually a brilliant analogy, because a marvel, it steals energy from the tree. It latches onto,
Oh, wow.
prevents it from thriving.
Okay.
And the speaker is saying, our minds are kind of like that.
Right.
If we just let them run wild, they can actually drain us and hold us back from our full potential.
Yeah. That's it's kind of disturbing to think about it like that.
It is. The speaker even says that, our minds only let us live as much as is necessary.
Wow.
For their own survival.
Really?
Which is kind of a crazy thought, but that's also why quieting the mind
Yeah.
can be so powerful. Because it's about reclaiming that energy.
Yeah.
And directing it towards growth.
Okay, so it's not enough to just meditate. Like, we got to actually understand how this is all working.
Right.
So are there any tips in the source material on how to actually recognize when our mind is acting like this parasite?
Yeah, absolutely. The speaker says to pay attention to your thought patterns.
Okay.
Notice when you're stuck in negativity,
Mm-hmm.
ruminating on the past, constantly worrying about the future.
Yeah.
Those are signs that your mind might be, kind of draining your energy.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's like we got to learn to identify the parasite's tactics so we can outsmart it.
Exactly.
Okay. And once we do that, we recognize these thought patterns. Are we just supposed to stop thinking them?
Well, actually, the speaker cautions against suppressing thoughts.
Okay.
They say it's more about acknowledging them without getting caught up in the story they're telling.
Right.
Like they compare it to watching clouds pass by.
You see them, but you don't try to grab them or change their course.
Right.
You just observe.
Yeah, so you just observe them, let them kind of drift by. Do they just disappear on their own eventually?
Well, not necessarily disappear,
Okay.
but you start to create a distance
Uh-huh.
between yourself and those thoughts.
Okay, so that's kind of the goal, is to create that separation.
Exactly. And the speaker even suggests that with about 6 months
6 months.
of consistent meditation, your mind will begin to settle naturally.
Okay, 6 months. That's longer than I expected.
Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah, definitely emphasizes that this is, not a quick fix.
Exactly. It's about being patient with yourself and trusting the process.
Right, so it's like learning a new skill. It takes time. You can't just expect to be an expert overnight.
That's a great way to put it.
So speaking of things that take time,
Great.
let's talk about this whole returning to the womb thing.
Yeah.
Because that's next level.
Yeah.
What's the connection there? Well, think about the feeling of safety and comfort that we experience in the womb.
Mm-hmm.
The speaker is suggesting that deep down we all yearn
Yeah.
to return to that primal state of bliss.
Okay.
And meditation, with its emphasis on stillness and peace,
Right.
it offers us a way to reconnect with that feeling.
Okay, so it's not just about quieting our minds. It's also about tapping into this deep-seated longing for peace and security.
Exactly.
Okay, and they take this even a step further by using this term dwai,
Yes.
which means twice born,
Right.
to describe those who have achieved enlightenment.
Exactly.
So it's almost like suggesting a rebirth into a higher state of being.
That's exactly it.
Okay, so we're not just calming the mind, we're also awakening to our true nature or something.
Yes.
That's pretty profound stuff.
Yeah, it is.
But what about the practical side of things? Like, how does someone even begin to, achieve this kind of transformation?
Well, the speaker argues that faith is key, and they contrast it with logic, saying that while logic is valuable, relying solely on it
Mm-hmm.
can actually hold us back on the spiritual path.
Oh, interesting. So how so?
Well, logic wants guarantees,
Okay.
proof before taking a leap.
Right. It likes to play it safe.
Exactly.
So is faith just about believing blindly?
No, not necessarily. They offer this really great analogy about learning to swim.
Okay.
You know, you could stand on the edge of the pool forever
Uh-huh.
and analyze the mechanics of swimming, but until you trust the water
Right.
and take that leap, you'll never learn.
Okay.
So faith is more about trusting the process, even when we don't fully understand it intellectually.
Got it. So it's like trusting that the instructor is there to catch you if you fall.
Yeah, exactly. It's about finding that courage to step outside our comfort zone
Right.
and trust that something bigger is supporting us.
Okay, so the speaker compares this to like finding a spiritual teacher or a guru,
Yeah,
someone who can give us that guidance
exactly.
and reassurance along the way. So we're not starting from scratch. We have everything we need within us.
That's the message.
Okay.
Just like the tiny seed holds the blueprint for the mighty tree,
Wow. Okay.
we possess the potential for enlightenment.
Within ourselves.
Within ourselves, it's just a matter of cultivating it.
That's starting to make a lot of sense. So meditation is like planting the seed, faith is the water.
Yes.
The teacher guru is the sunlight.
I like that.
What about the soil?
That's a great question.
Like, what conditions do we need to create?
And that brings us to the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We need to explore the speaker's insights on taming the monkey mind
Oh, yeah.
and understanding the nature of our thoughts.
Awesome. Let's dive into that then, but first, a quick word from our sponsors.
Okay, so welcome back. We were talking about how to prepare the ground, so to speak, for spiritual growth. And the source material goes on to talk about how even our bodies can resist this whole meditation thing.
Yeah. It's like as soon as we sit down to meditate, all these physical discomforts can pop up, itches, aches, restlessness.
Almost as if our bodies are trying to sabotage our efforts.
Yeah, tell me about it. It's like my knees go on strike as soon as I try to sit cross-legged.
Right. But the speaker suggests that instead of giving in to every sensation, we become the master of our bodies.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, they use this analogy of dealing with a mischievous child who's always vying for attention.
Oh, I see.
So if you react to every little prank, they're going to keep it up.
Right.
But if you stay calm and unfazed, they'll eventually get bored and move on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the speaker says, apply that same principle to our bodies during meditation.
Okay, so we just acknowledge the discomfort, but we don't let it derail our practice.
Exactly. Keep breathing and focusing on your meditation.
So it's like a negotiation with our own bodies.
Yeah, you could say that.
And speaking of things that need taming,
Right?
how about that monkey mind we were talking about earlier? The source material offers some pretty powerful imagery for how to deal with all those racing thoughts.
Yeah, the speaker says instead of trying to suppress those thoughts, which can actually give them more power, just observe them as if they were clouds passing by.
Okay, so we don't engage with the thoughts, we just kind of notice them, let them drift on by.
Exactly. Cultivate a sense of detachment, realizing that you are not your thoughts.
Right.
This allows you to create some space between yourself and that mental chatter.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like we're creating a buffer zone.
Exactly.
So we don't get swept away by every little thought that pops into our heads, but how do we actually do that?
It takes practice. The speaker acknowledges that it can take around 6 months
It's months.
of consistent meditation for the mind to really settle,
Okay.
but it's achievable with patience and perseverance.
So we've got the seed of meditation, the water of faith, the sunlight of guidance,
I like where you're going with this.
the soil of a disciplined body, and a quieter mind.
Right.
But I'm still curious about this return to the womb idea.
Ah, yes, one of the most evocative metaphors in the discourse.
What exactly does the speaker mean by that?
Well, they suggest that deep within us, there's this subconscious longing for that primal sense of peace and security we experienced in the womb.
Okay, so it's not literally about going back in time,
No.
but about reconnecting with that feeling of pure bliss and wholeness.
Exactly. And the speaker suggests that through deep meditation, we can access that state once again.
Wow.
It's about tapping into a deeper level of our being, a place of profound peace and contentment.
So that feeling, wouldn't that just be fleeting? I mean, how do we hold on to that once we're back in the real world with all its, distractions and challenges?
Well, that's where this concept of dwash or twice born comes in.
Okay.
The speaker uses this term to describe those who've achieved enlightenment It's like they're suggesting a rebirth into a higher state of being.
So it's not about seeking moments of escape. It's about like a more lasting inner transformation.
Exactly. It's about awakening to a deeper reality, to our true nature, which is inherently peaceful, joyful, and free.
Okay, this is all starting to connect now. So we're not just calming the mind. We're tapping into a deeper reservoir of awareness that allows us to experience the world in a fundamentally different way. But is this something that's available to everyone? Or does it require some special, talent or predisposition?
Well, the speaker seems to believe that this potential for awakening is inherent in all of us.
Really?
It's not about being special or gifted. It's about commitment and effort.
Wow, that's encouraging. But I'm sure there are roadblocks along the way. Like, what are some of the challenges we might encounter on this path of self-discovery?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, doubt can be a major obstacle.
Right.
Logic often demands proof
Mm-hmm.
before taking a leap of faith, but the spiritual path requires a certain amount of trust and surrender.
Yeah. And we also talked about the body's resistance to meditation and the mind's tendency to distract us with this constant stream of thoughts. But are there any other challenges that we might face as we go deeper?
Well, the speaker doesn't shy away from the fact that there will be ups and downs.
Oh.
Moments of clarity and moments of confusion. It's like climbing a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
There will be beautiful vistas and there will be challenging terrains.
I see.
So resilience is key, the ability to bounce back from setbacks and keep moving forward.
Right. So we just got to keep going even when it gets tough.
Exactly. And the speaker also emphasizes the importance of finding a trusted teacher or guide who can offer support and encouragement along the way.
So it's not about going it alone.
No.
It's about finding a community or like-minded individuals who can share their experiences and wisdom.
That's right. And beyond the support of others, the speaker highlights the role of understanding the nature of our own minds. Remember that analogy of the mind as a parasitic vine?
Uh-huh.
Well, the speaker suggests that by recognizing those tendencies of the mind that drain our energy and keep us stuck in negative patterns, we can start to cultivate a healthier relationship with our thoughts.
So it's not just about quieting the mind, but about understanding how it works so we can work with it rather than against it.
Exactly. And this leads us to another key aspect of the speaker's teachings, this idea that we already possess everything we need for spiritual awakening within us.
Okay.
It's not about seeking something outside ourselves, but about uncovering the wisdom and potential that already exists within.
That's a really empowering message. It's like we're being reminded that we have the power to, create our own reality, to shape our own destinies. But how do we tap into that inner wisdom? What are some of the specific tools or techniques that the speaker recommends?
Well, meditation is obviously central to the speaker's teachings.
Mm.
They describe it as a practice of non-doing, a state of simply being present without trying to control or manipulate our experience.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how this all ties together.
Right.
By cultivating awareness through meditation, we gain a deeper understanding of the mind's workings.
Exactly.
And by understanding the mind, we can start to loosen its grip on our sense of self.
Yeah, it's like we're peeling back the layers of conditioning that have clouded our perception,
Yeah.
revealing that radiant light of our true nature.
So it's not about becoming someone else,
No.
but about uncovering the truth of who we already are. But it still sounds a bit mysterious. Like, how do we actually experience this true nature? What does it feel like?
That's a great question, and perhaps one that each individual must answer for themselves through their own direct experience.
Okay.
But the speaker does offer some clues.
Okay.
They talk about a sense of peace that surpasses understanding, a joy that's independent of external circumstances, and a feeling of interconnectedness with all beings.
That sounds incredible, but I'm guessing it's not all sunshine and roses.
Right.
Are there any potential pitfalls or dangers we should be aware of?
Well, the speaker doesn't delve into specific dangers,
Mm.
but they do caution against becoming attached to spiritual experiences.
Okay.
They emphasize that true awakening is not about seeking blissful states, but about cultivating a clear and compassionate awareness that can meet any experience with wisdom and equanimity.
So it's not about escaping from the challenges of life, but about meeting them with a greater sense of presence and understanding.
Exactly. And this brings us back to the importance of integration. It's not enough to just practice meditation in isolation.
Right.
The real test is how we embody these principles in our daily lives, in our interactions with others, in the choices we make each day.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about bringing the peace and clarity we cultivate on the cushion out into the world. But how does this relate to the speaker's emphasis on the twice-born individual? What does that actually look like in practice?
That's a great question, and one that leads us to the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We need to explore what it truly means to live as a twice-born being, someone who has awakened to their true nature and is living in alignment with that truth.
So welcome back. We were talking about what it looks like to actually, live as a twice-born individual,
Right.
to bring that awakened state into everyday life.
Yeah, one thing that really stood out to me was how the speaker emphasized that this transformation isn't about, becoming some superhuman or like escaping the world or anything like that.
Yep.
It's about fully embracing our human experience,
Hmm.
but with a heightened sense of awareness.
So not floating off into the clouds,
No.
keeping our feet firmly planted on the ground.
Exactly.
But how does that play out, like, in a world that's so full of distractions and, all the challenges of life?
Well, the source material talks about how this twice-born perspective brings a shift in values.
Okay.
It's no longer about chasing fleeting pleasures
Right.
or, external validation or all that.
Okay.
The speaker says our desires shift towards deeper fulfillment.
Like what kind of things?
Things like connection purpose, making a positive impact,
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
that makes sense. It's like our priorities change once we realize what truly matters.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that doesn't make life like, a cakewalk.
No.
They acknowledge that there's still going to be difficulties, right?
Oh, yeah. The speaker uses this really powerful image.
Okay.
They say life is like a tapestry woven with threads of joy and sorrow.
Wow.
But the twice-born individual sees the beauty in both,
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that even difficult experiences hold valuable lessons and opportunities for growth.
That's a beautiful way to look at it.
Yeah.
Finding the meaning even in the hard times.
Exactly.
But what about doubt? They talk a lot about faith, but isn't it natural to have doubts, especially when things get tough?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And they address that directly.
They do.
The speaker acknowledges that doubt is a natural part of the process.
Okay.
It's like a shadow that often accompanies growth. But they caution against letting doubt paralyze us.
Okay.
It's important to keep moving forward even when we can't see the whole path clearly.
So it's okay to have those doubts as long as we don't let them hold us back.
That's the idea. And they even suggest using doubt as fuel for deeper inquiry,
Okay.
for questioning our assumptions and seeking a more profound understanding.
So it's like transforming doubt into a catalyst for growth
Exactly.
rather than letting it become like a roadblock. But I'm curious about how this twice-born perspective actually shows up, in our relationships with others.
Right.
Does it change how we interact with the people around us?
Well, the speaker suggests that as we awaken to our true nature, our capacity for compassion and empathy naturally expands.
Okay.
We begin to see others not as separate individuals,
Mm-hmm.
but as reflections of ourselves, interconnected beings sharing this journey of life.
Okay, so that's a pretty radical shift in perspective.
It is.
It's about seeing the humanity in everyone, even those who might challenge us or, hold different viewpoints.
Exactly. The speaker says that true compassion doesn't discriminate.
Okay.
It embraces all beings, recognizing that we're all interconnected and ultimately striving for the same things, happiness, peace, fulfillment.
This is really painting a beautiful picture of what it means to live like an awakened life,
I think so too.
It's not about withdrawing from the world or becoming self-absorbed. It's about engaging with the world in a more conscious and compassionate and meaningful way.
I agree. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the speaker's final message is really powerful.
Okay.
They say the journey of awakening is not a solitary pursuit, but a collective endeavor.
Okay.
It's about each of us doing our part to create a more peaceful, just, and loving world.
Yeah, that's definitely a message I think we can all get behind.
Yeah.
So for those listening who might be feeling inspired to start their own journey of inner exploration, like, what's one piece of advice we can offer them?
Well, the speaker encourages us to start small,
Okay.
to simply take one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
They say even 5 minutes of meditation a day can make a difference.
Wow. Okay.
And most importantly, to be patient and kind to ourselves along the way.
Right.
Awakening is a process, not a destination.
That's great advice, and I think it's a perfect note to end on. So thank you, everyone, for joining us on this deep dive into the world of meditation and spiritual growth.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you gained some valuable insights and maybe even a little inspiration to cultivate your own inner transformation.
Until next time, may you find peace and clarity on your journey of self-discovery.
Please like, share and subscribe.